Oh, Vikings, let's win this game.
The Minnesota Vikings made 3 significant additions today: a new tight end, a new defensive lineman, and a former division rival general manager joining the organization. Meanwhile, a controversial quarterback prospect is suddenly generating NFL-wide buzz, and Justin Jefferson is closing in on one of the most iconic records in franchise history. And trust me, each of these stories offers a different clue about where the purple and gold might be headed next. One of the easiest mistakes fans make during the offseason is ignoring the smaller roster moves. We see a couple names get signed, a couple names get waived, and most people scroll right past them. But sometimes those moves tell you exactly what coaches and executives are thinking behind the scenes. That's what caught my attention when Minnesota added 2 new players as offseason workouts come to a close. The Vikings signed tight end Marshall Lang and defensive lineman Jahvaree Ritzie while moving on from Caleb Etienne and Munkel Goodwine. Now neither Lang nor Ritzie arrives with national headlines attached to his name. They're not former first-round picks. They're not established veterans. But that's not really the point. Marshall Lang brings intriguing depth to a tight end room already featuring T.J. Hawkinson and Josh Oliver. He spent time with Seattle and New England after entering the league as an undrafted player, and what stands out isn't just his production at Northwestern. It's the kind of profile teams often take chances on. Smart, durable, academic All-Big Ten. The type of player coaches love having around a locker room. Then there's Jahvaree Ritzie, and honestly this one caught my attention. A defensive lineman with size, athletic ability, and a productive final season at North Carolina. 6.5 sacks, 40 tackles, a touchdown off an interception return. Those aren't empty numbers. Minnesota's defensive front is already competitive, which means every rep in camp will matter. Every summer somebody surprises people. Every summer somebody arrives with almost no expectations and suddenly forces coaches to take notice. Ritzie could become one of those names. Maybe neither player makes the final roster. Maybe one sticks around on the practice squad. Or maybe one turns a few heads when training camp arrives. But these moves reveal a lot about how this front office is operating. Nolan, Teasley, and this front office are searching everywhere for talent. They're leaving no stone unturned. And when a new regime starts making aggressive evaluations, you never know which under-the-radar addition could eventually become part of a larger plan. Speaking of Nolan Teasley, the changes inside the organization just keep coming. Ever since he took over as general manager, there has been a clear sense of urgency surrounding the Vikings. Not panic, not recklessness, urgency. And now another significant piece has been added to the puzzle. Minnesota is bringing in former Chicago Bears general manager Ryan Pace as a football advisor, while also hiring former Seahawks executive Azam Kapadia as assistant director of pro scouting. Now I know exactly what some Vikings fans are thinking. Ryan Pace? The same Ryan Pace whose Bears team struggled for years? The same Ryan Pace who missed badly on quarterbacks like Mitchell Trubisky? That's a fair reaction. But front offices aren't built around one person's mistakes. They're built around collective experience. Pace has seen draft rooms. He's managed cap situations. He's built rosters. He's experienced success and failure. Sometimes organizations learn as much from people who've made difficult decisions as they do from those with perfect resumes. What's equally interesting is the continued Seattle connection. Teasley clearly trusts people he has worked with before, and Kapadia is another example of that. That's usually not accidental. The Vikings aren't just replacing employees. They're rebuilding an entire football operation. Every scouting report, every personnel discussion, every evaluation process could look different moving forward. Those changes may not show up on Sundays immediately, but they can shape a franchise for years. Meanwhile, the biggest storyline hanging over training camp remains the quarterback battle. Kyler Murray versus J.J. McCarthy. Former linebacker Manti Te'o recently suggested the decision should come down to one simple factor: who gets the ball most effectively to Justin Jefferson? Honestly, it's hard to argue with that logic. Jefferson is the centerpiece of this offense. But Te'o also pointed out something else that matters. J.J. McCarthy was a first-round pick. Organizations don't simply walk away from investments like that. Kevin O'Connell is going to have one of the most important decisions of his coaching career approaching, and every passing week seems to add another layer of pressure to the situation. And just when you thought the quarterback storyline couldn't get any more complicated, another name suddenly entered the picture. Not because Minnesota is actively pursuing him right now, but because the possibility exists. Brendan Sorsby is expected to enter the NFL Supplemental Draft, creating one of the most unusual quarterback situations we've seen in years. The Supplemental Draft almost feels like a forgotten part of NFL history. Most fans barely think about it. Yet every once in a while a player comes along who forces teams to pay attention. Sorsby certainly qualifies. On pure talent, there are people who believe he would have been selected relatively early in a traditional NFL draft. Last season at Cincinnati, he threw 27 touchdown passes against only 5 interceptions while adding 9 rushing scores. The arm talent is real, the physical tools are there, the intrigue is obvious, but so is the controversy. His admission involving sports betting during his college years created significant concerns and eventually helped lead him down this unusual path toward the NFL. That's where things get a little more complicated for Minnesota. On one hand, the Vikings already have Kyler Murray, J.J. McCarthy, and Carson Wentz in the quarterback room. That's a crowded situation. On the other hand, Murray is on a short-term deal, and uncertainty still exists regarding the long-term direction of the position. ESPN's Mike Tannenbaum even mentioned Minnesota as a potential fit. That alone is enough to get people talking. Personally, I struggle to see the Vikings investing a premium draft asset here. A second or third round bid feels difficult to justify given everything else happening around this roster. But football history is filled with unexpected decisions. Front offices are always thinking 2 or 3 moves ahead. If Teasley and Kevin O'Connell truly believe a quarterback possesses franchise-level potential, stranger things have happened. The odds may be against it, but the fact we're even discussing another quarterback possibility tells you how unsettled this position still feels heading into camp. One story in particular honestly made me stop and reflect for a minute, because sometimes greatness becomes so normal that we forget we're witnessing it. Today, Justin Jefferson celebrated his 27th birthday. The Vikings acknowledged it with a message, but they also reminded everyone of something remarkable. Jefferson already owns the NFL records for receiving yardage before turning 23, 24, 25, 26, and 27 years old. Think about that for a second. Every single season, he's redefining what an elite start to a career looks like. Through 6 seasons, he has already accumulated 8,480 receiving yards. That's not just impressive. That's historic territory. And now another Vikings legend sits directly in front of him. Randy Moss currently holds the record for most receiving yards before turning 28 with 9,142. Jefferson needs only 663 more yards to pass him, 663. For most receivers, that's a strong season. For Justin Jefferson, that's a realistic early season milestone if he stays healthy. That's what makes this chase feel so attainable. What makes it even more incredible is how many different quarterbacks he's produced with. Kirk Cousins, Sam Darnold, Nick Mullins, J.J. McCarthy. Different systems, different circumstances, different levels of stability. The production keeps coming. That's what separates special players from all-time players. Jefferson doesn't require perfect conditions to remain dangerous. He elevates the offense around him, and maybe that's why the quarterback competition matters so much, because Minnesota already has the superstar. They already have the player capable of carrying the passing game. The challenge now is finding the quarterback who can unlock the next chapter. If Jefferson breaks another record but the team struggles, it will feel incomplete. But if those milestones arrive while the Vikings are winning meaningful games, that's when history starts feeling a lot bigger. This is why this offseason feels so important. Every move seems connected to a larger question about where the Vikings are going next. New players are fighting for opportunities. A rebuilt front office is taking shape. The quarterback conversation refuses to slow down. And meanwhile, Justin Jefferson keeps chasing legends while becoming one himself. That's what makes being a Vikings fan so emotional. Hope and uncertainty always seem to travel together. Maybe that's always been part of the journey, but no matter how many questions remain, we're going to be right here following every twist and turn. Let me know which story matters most to you right now, and as always, thank you for being part of this incredible community. Stay strong, keep believing in the purple and gold, and we'll see where this next chapter takes us. Stay tuned. Skol Vikings, let's go!